NASCAR spent years saying horsepower was the past. Drivers pushed back. Fans grew restless. Then one leaked rule change rewrote the 2026 season overnight. What forced NASCAR to bring real power back now? That is why the start of the 2026 rulebook feels so shocking. This was not a slow adjustment. It was not a quiet test hidden in a midweek memo. NASCAR is preparing to bring back the 750 horsepower package for short tracks and road courses. The very tracks where frustration had reached its peak. The very tracks where drivers said racing had become stale. The very tracks where fans said something felt wrong. To understand why this matters, you have to understand how NASCAR got here. When the next-gen car debuted, it was sold as a solution. Costs would be controlled, racing would be closer, safety would improve, teams would no longer dominate purely through engineering advantage. In many ways, it worked exactly as intended. The field tightened, gaps shrank, cars ran nose to tail, but something else disappeared: power. With horsepower limited, throttle became less important. Drivers could stay wide open longer. Mistakes were smaller. Cars recovered faster. On intermediate tracks, the racing stayed competitive. On superspeedways, pack racing remained unchanged. Short tracks and road courses told a different story. Passing became rare. Track position became everything. Once a driver lost clean air, there was little they could do to get it back. The car did not reward aggression. It punished it. Tires wore evenly. Power delivery stayed predictable. Races turned into long lines of cars waiting for something to happen. Drivers noticed immediately. Veterans spoke first. Champions said they could not race the way they used to. Younger drivers echoed the same concerns. Even those who benefited from parity admitted something was missing. Short track races that once defined NASCAR felt muted. Road courses that once rewarded bravery became procedural. Fans noticed too. Attendance stayed solid, but the energy changed. Social media filled with comparisons to older races. Clips from Bristol, Martinsville, and Watkins Glen from past decades circulated constantly. The difference was obvious. Cars slid more. Drivers fought the wheel. Passing required commitment. NASCAR stayed firm. Officials pointed to data. They highlighted safety improvements. They argued that closer racing mattered more than raw power. For a while, that argument held. Then the complaints did not stop. Driver meetings grew tense. Public comments became sharper. Some drivers stopped dancing around the issue entirely. They said short track racing was broken. They said road courses lacked rhythm. They said fans deserved better. Behind the scenes, NASCAR listened. The competition committee began reviewing options, tire data, passing metrics, driver input, fan engagement. What they found was impossible to ignore. The areas with the loudest complaints were also the areas where the product felt the flattest. Horsepower was no longer just a number, it was the missing variable. That is why the leaked 2026 rule change carries so much weight. Bringing back 750 horsepower for short tracks and road courses is not a cosmetic fix. It changes the entire behavior of the car. Braking zones get longer. Corner exits become dangerous again. Throttle control matters. Tire wear accelerates. Mistakes grow teeth. This is racing. Drivers will no longer be able to lean on stability alone. They will have to manage wheel spin. They will have to time passes. They will have to decide when to risk it and when to wait. Talent will matter more than position. For teams, the challenge shifts as well. Setups will matter again. Mechanical grip will be tested. Crew chiefs will face real trade-offs between speed and control. Cars that are too aggressive will burn tires. Cars that are too conservative will get passed. This is exactly what fans have been asking for, but the timing of the change matters just as much as the change itself. NASCAR enters 2026 at a crossroads. The sport is navigating ownership disputes. Legal battles have reshaped internal power structures. Media cycles move faster than ever. Trust between the sanctioning body, teams, and drivers has been strained. Starting the rulebook with horsepower sends a clear message. NASCAR is willing to adjust. NASCAR is willing to admit that the original vision did not work everywhere. NASCAR understands that competition cannot be engineered entirely through restriction. This is not a surrender, it is a correction. The next-gen car is not being abandoned. Its core principles remain. Safety remains non-negotiable. Cost control still matters. Parity is still valued. But racing has always needed friction. It needs moments where drivers fight the car. It needs mistakes that create opportunity. It needs skill to rise above sameness. Power creates that friction. Short tracks will feel alive again. Cars will slide. Drivers will bump. Braking zones will become battlegrounds. Passing will still be hard, but it will be earned. Road courses will change dramatically. Throttle control will define lap times. Drivers who can manage power through technical sections will gain real advantages. Mistakes will cost time. Aggression will carry risk. Strategy will evolve throughout the race, not just during pit stops. This also reshapes the competitive landscape. Veteran drivers who grew up racing high-horsepower cars will feel comfortable again. Drivers who learned precision through restriction will have to adapt. The field will not spread instantly, but differences will emerge over long runs. Fans will notice. They always do. NASCAR understands that excitement is not just about finishes. It is about the story inside the race, the battles that develop over laps, the tension between speed and control, the feeling that anything can happen. The return of horsepower restores that feeling. There are still concerns. Higher horsepower increases mechanical stress. Tire management becomes critical. Costs could rise if teams chase marginal gains. NASCAR knows this. That is why the change is targeted. Short tracks and road courses only. Controlled environments where the benefits outweigh the risks. This is not nostalgia. It is practical. The sport is acknowledging that one size does not fit all. What works on one track does not automatically work on another. Adapting rules to track types is not weakness. It is maturity. The leaked nature of the announcement also speaks volumes. This was not a marketing rollout. It was information surfacing because it mattered, because teams needed to prepare, because drivers needed clarity, because the sport could not afford another year of silence. Once this door opened, it could not be closed. The conversation has changed. Instead of asking why NASCAR refuses to listen, the question becomes how far they are willing to go. Will intermediates see future adjustments? Will tire compounds evolve? Will aero continue to be refined? The 2026 Rulebook begins with power, but it will not end there. This moment matters because it restores balance between data and instinct, between safety and spectacle, between control and creativity. Racing has always lived in that balance. NASCAR did not expect to start the 2026 season this way. Neither did the fans, neither did the drivers. But now that power is back, expectations rise with it. Short tracks will be judged harshly. Road courses will be scrutinized. Every race will be measured against the promise this rule change represents. If the racing improves, trust will follow. If it does not, the pressure will only grow. That is the risk NASCAR accepted the moment they chose horsepower. And that is why this rulebook does not just change numbers on a page, it changes the direction of the sport. The 2026 season will not begin quietly. It will begin with drivers wrestling cars that demand respect, with mistakes that matter, with passes that mean something. Power is back. Now NASCAR has to prove it knows what to do with it.